Welcome back to the 50 to 70 podcast, brought to you in association with 3FE Coffee and broadcasting you today from the headquarters in Grand Canal. But there are 7 locations throughout Dublin, so do check it out or visit 3fe.com to get all your coffee needs. I am Dave Humphreys.
I'm Cormac Singleton.
And this week we're joined by
Simon Deane.
Hi, Simon.
How are you, Dave?
I'm gonna say slightly better than you at the moment.
In life.
In life,
Maybe
okay.
not in looks, but in life.
We're gonna get through this.
We're there.
Before anyone accuses us of ambulance chasing here,
You did. Totally. It's a lie.
we were meant to do this last week, and a certain unforeseen fiery circumstance happened, and we postponed. And Simon very graciously said, "No, let's keep going. Let's do it anyway."
Man of your word.
Man of a word. I think it was while we were pushing cars around the car park with no keys that I said to you, make sure we do this podcast next week.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
So mutually beneficial.
Yeah, it's been a week, huh? It's been quite a week.
This week has been quite a year. Let's put it that way.
Quite a year, I'd say so. So for those that, I don't know, maybe you don't know, but there was quite a catastrophic fire at your building, at your premises, and it's been not been easy.
No, it's been a it's a mad one.
Okay, we're going to get to that,
Yeah.
but I again, you've been true to your word. You've come here. We were going to do a very different show, and we're going to start doing it this way.
Okay.
So,
Let me give you as much information as I can.
So you are Simon Deane, Deane Motors. You've become one of the faces of classic cars in Ireland.
Which is very impressive, because I don't think you have TikTok, do you?
I don't
Don't
do
take TikTok.
How would you ever sell a car?
Don't sell cars
No.
without TikTok.
No,
way.
you don't have to ask people for any guesses or anything like that.
And
or
to be fair, Nadia will probably say it herself. I probably have a bigger pair of boobs than she does. So
well, anyway,
well.
I'm keeping my eye level up nice and high here. We've gone back quite a few years, and it's not the first time I've interviewed you, but it is the first time we're going to do a podcast together. For those that don't know, you've been around this game for quite a while.
Yeah,
But-
it is. It's kind of funny, and it kind of goes full circle, because the first time I ever worked in selling cars, I worked at a Chris Fleming car sales, which is actually the first 3FE shop.
It's now a
It's
3FE
tough,
shop.
which is now a
Exactly,
3FE
yeah. It's
shop.
actually where we recorded the last
Yeah,
one.
see,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
this full circle thing. That's amazing,
Yeah.
wasn't it? That was a plug for
I think,
3FE.
I think that just shows just how
This was
embarrassing small Ireland
Yeah,
is
it
and
is
how
actually.
Dublin
It
is.
yeah. My initial story was I worked for Chris Fleming Cars, worked there for a year.
How old?
Right after school, 18.
So it was not college, just straight
No,
out into...
straight out into the motor trade. And
did-
Now, before you were 18, were cars your life?
life sickness.
I
I worked in my dad's garage since I was 8 every single summer. I didn't do summers off playing football. I did summers off cleaning cars, and that was just...
Was that
my-
by choice or was that?
Well, I don't know. I was beaten
a bit of
slightly.
both.
A bit
It's
of
a bit of
both. No,
both, yeah.
I just fucking love cars. It's a sickness.
It
And I
is,
think if I didn't love
yeah.
cars as much as I did, I would be somewhere off the side of a cliff now at this stage.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Worked for Chris. Really, really great experience. He was... the motor trade is full of so many undesirable people.
Characters.
Characters. What I say. Characters. And I could probably put on 2 hands the amount of people that I deal with that I know are bang on. Chris is as straight as they come.
Yeah.
That was it. You know what I mean? If you were anyone to kind of base your business off, it was what he did originally. So yeah.
And what was it? Was it that just because it's just his nature, or was that just...
No, he was just... Look, Chris was like every other car dealer and any other businessman. He wanted to make money,
Yeah.
but he wasn't out to fuck the customer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His cars were prepped really, really well. He had his margins. He had great customers, but he just sold good cars. And if there was a problem, he just bought them back, and that was
Right,
it.
yeah.
People dealt with him again, and he was dishonest. There was no jiggery pokery. If it wasn't right, that was it. It was just sorted.
Yeah. I mean, that's true of nearly all businesses, though. It's not how well you do business. It's when there's a problem. It's how you deal with the problem that determines whether that customer is going to come back. And
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
So in the interim, well, not in the interim, my old man got cancer, unfortunately, and he's well now. He's great. If anyone follows us on socials, he's the man who walks around with the glasses and the stethoscope listening to carburetors. But he got a serious illness policy. We hadn't got loads of money. He got a serious illness policy. He got a payout, and my dream was always to be a pilot as well. Loved aviation, great sort of thing. They used the money. They sent me off to Canada to become a pilot. And yeah, so he continued to be sick, and the business wasn't doing that great. So I came back to work in it.
Okay.
And then I realised that I just preferred the motor trade more than I liked planes. The idea of flying planes was so much better than actually doing it. So came back, and it was hard because he'd literally spent my mum and dad had spent all of their money sending me to pilot college. So it was hard to say.
It's not a cheap thing to do.
No, it was a lot of dough. It was a lot of dough when you don't have a lot of dough. So I just told him that, look, I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I was always kind of buying and selling cars. So like the first car I ever sold, you won't believe, it was Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce first car ever sold to a guy called Stanley Boylan. And
start as you mean to go on,
started as you mean to go on, because sure, I was 16, and I'll never forget it. And like trying to negotiate a deal with there's a Rolls Royce dealer in London, Hanwell, that's what it was, and trying to negotiate a deal. And Stan was the hardest motherfucker of all time. He was an ex-car dealer, art dealer, everything, and he was willing to walk out of the place over like $1,000. He didn't care. No, I'm not taking the car.
One of those guys.
Yeah, and I remember when he sold the car, he gave me $5,000. $5,000. I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing of all time. So what I was doing then, in between the pilot study and all that, I was working as a DJ, kind of a checkered life here. And so I worked during the day in the garage. My dad said if I wanted to become a mechanic or sell cars, I had to know what I was talking about. So I went to Foss, did my apprenticeship. I was DJing in the evenings, delivering the Herald AM in the morning. So I was making a lot of money, to be honest. I was making no money out of the garage. I think I was on 200 quid a week on my first year apprenticeship. But I was like making 600 quid a week DJing, and I was making 200 a week from the Herald. So I was 20 years old taking 1,000 quid a week home.
Which isn't 1,000 miles away from Dave Egan. And it's funny you both end up in the same,
like it was
on top of each other.
Yeah. And like I was doing great. And the thing was, I was working the evening, so I couldn't spend the money.
Okay, yeah.
So I went, got a loan from the bank, bought a Porsche 911 SC, sold it at Terrier Classic Car Show, built up the money, paid off the loan, and that's how I started buying and selling cars.
That was it. The slippery slope.
The slippery slope.
But you didn't want it. So I mean, Rolls Royce 911 SC.
Yeah.
You didn't have an interest in flipping Toyota Corollas.
No,
or Starlets or anything.
I suppose the thing was, modern cars never did it for me, and I was always around older cars. So in the workshop, my dad always had Rolls Royces and Porsches, and they were the stuff that we fixed. So I had an interest in that. Like my era up until the noughties, I loved the noughties, kind of up to kind of 03 would be where I kind of draw the line nearly. But they're the stuff we worked on was just old. We were always in old cars. It was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I just never looked at it. You could buy a Porsche. Like when I bought the 911 SC, it was like $9,000, and like a 3 Series BMW at the time, like that was 5 or 6 years old, was that price. Or so it just, to me, it made no sense to have a Porsche to have a 3 Series. So yeah.
And when you were back, like, you know, young flit working around your dad, even as a child, was there anything, what grabbed you? Like, was there anything that sticks out as, you know, always been drawn to that?
I hate to say it, it was fucking Rolls Royces. I don't know why. There was this kind of mystique around them, and I kind of loved that they were hand built. That was the kind of thing that really did it for me. And I mean, I remember my dad, he worked on a Daytona Ferrari in the workshop, and stuff like that stuff was just, and he used to drive them. Like, you had to test this stuff, and he'd bring cars home, and you were going out for spins. Like, he'd come home at work, and you'd walk out to see what he took home, like my own kids do now.
Sure, yeah.
And I remember even the route, same route every night. He'd take the car out for the spin, and it was deadly. That's what did it for me.
Yeah,
cars are an emotional thing, in my own opinion.
I know. I totally get that.
Yeah.
And like I've talked about it before, that so many of my friends and stuff like that, like cars are what links us all. Like we all have so many of us have completely different lives that would never have paths would never crossed.
Yeah.
But cars, and it's such a great leveler as well that
I had someone say to me one day,
or,
would many of your friends be into cars? So I don't
have any other
friends. What do you mean one that isn't into cars? I've not to talk about then.
And I mean, that was the big thing about the engine block. There was no stereotype, and that was one thing that really bothered me. Is, don't get me wrong, if you have the money to go out and buy a new Porsche or a new Ferrari, that's brilliant. But there's people who don't, and we're all the same. So the thing about the engine block was it didn't matter whether you had your Ferrari or your Porsche or whatever. If you came in and you're a Starlet or you came in and something else, we all had the same goal. That's what was cool about that spot, and that's the way we designed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with cars. Like, there's aspects of the car world that I have no interest, don't get, doesn't resonate with me. But I'm like, hey, that's your thing.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go nuts. So you started to buy and sell a few cars.
Yeah.
How did that sort of then keep progressing? Like, what was?
Well, you see, the thing was, I never spent the money because I was working all the time. So the pool of money started going, and it was, now I have 20 grand, and what can I buy for 20 grand? And I bought a Ferrari 308 GTB, and I ran that for 6 months, and then I sold it and I made a few quid, and then I said, I have to have another Ferrari. I went out and bought another Ferrari, and I ran that for a year, and I sold that at the end of the year.
Is this the one with the string on the door?
The string on the door was the first 308. That was the first 308, and I remember picking it up that day, and I knew so little at that. And I remember driving, the car was driving terrible, and the door wouldn't close. And
how old were you at this age? You were
19.
19.
308 with a Ferrari. Yeah, I know. But it was cheap. It was cheap money. I know when I say it was cheap, it was, I think the first one was it was either 60 and a half or 70 and a half grand.
Oh my God.
I know. So it wasn't out of the realm.
Yeah. Where is the time machine we need?
Well, no, because even today, you look at a 3 for 8, you can get a tatty one in the 50s.
Yeah.
You can nice one in the 60s.
Yeah.
And if you said to someone, I'm going out to buy a Ferrari, they go, you're mental.
You're mental.
Yeah.
But if you go out and go, I'm financing 90 grand on a Golf 4, they go, oh, fair play to you.
Yeah, fair play to you. Yeah. But I remember, the girlfriend I had at the time, I was like, I'm going to have a Ferrari. She's like, you're never going to have a Ferrari. And I was see you, bitch. No, I'm not messing. No. But and I remember running that car for a year and getting out of it at the end of the year making, I think I made 2.5 grand. It wasn't a lot of money, but I owned a Ferrari for a year. I got paid to own a Ferrari for a year.
So it wasn't just about buying the car to flip it.
No.
You wanted the experience of...
And I think that's what kind of made Deane Motors work well. So when I bought cars, I only bought cars that I liked.
Okay.
So it's easy to sell something if you like it.
Yeah.
And if someone didn't buy it, it didn't make a difference because
you still got to drive it.
Still got to own the car I wanted to buy anyway. So
now I've never told you this, but first time you ever came on my radar, you had arrived back in Dublin in a 3 for 8 again.
Oh God!
It was
the green one.
It could have been the green one or a TDF blue one.
Yeah.
And you met up with or a friend of mine ran into you.
Yeah.
Stephen Golden is his name.
Oh, Stephen, yeah.
And he wanted to make a video on you. Because you got chatting in Haddington Lane or something like that. And he was into photography and videography at the time and ran a site called Awesome Sauce. And he said, you need to meet this guy. Because he's a young flick, he's driving Ferraris, and he's just flipping them all. He tatty shit, you'd love him.
Yeah.
I went, what the fuck is that?
Well, but listen, and that's a fucking... I suppose, look, my criteria for selling cars back then was never like it is now. I bought cars, I got them right to a point, and then I sold them. And when I started, when I had the 348, it was the ultimate goal was to try and make a few quid.
And were you Deane Motors at this stage, or were you just a fella on
just
Dundee?
Just a fella on Dundee. Yeah, and what was happening was I was only doing maybe 1 or 2 cars at a time. So I didn't have a lot, didn't do anything. So again, like I said, I pulled all my money into one big car. And I drove around that, had the crack. And that car, I ended up selling it to a Ferrari dealer in... That's a mad car when I think about it. I sold that car to a Ferrari dealer in Marbella. And they paid me to drive it down Ross, of course. And they paid me to drive... What's your man's name down there? Oh, fuck.
I had a good chat with
Simon, it is great to see you. How many Ferraris do you have in stock? It's like, listen, man, and you want to see this guy. He's He's a beautiful looking man. You know what I mean? And he's as flash as it comes.
An Adonis.
He he is what you would assume a Ferrari dealer to look like.
Yeah, I walked in there one day. There's a 250 GTO in the window, and it's not Ferrari main dealer. It is Rosso Corsa's name, and he's now expanded into like half the block.
Yeah.
Walk in there one day, and he goes, "Hello." I go, "Oh no, we're not English, we're Irish." He goes, "Ireland." Starts listing off all the people
he knows in Ireland.
Cars
Yeah,
to in Ireland.
yeah.
And like me and him were going back and forth. Go, no, such and such doesn't own this one. This is owned by that.
Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
like, are you sure? Yeah.
Francisco Senna. That is his name. Francisco Senna.
What?
And
That's his name?
Francisco Senna.
Oh my God.
And-
what a name.
Yeah, I know. And that car ended up back in Ireland. That car.
What?
Yeah, sold it down there, and Martin Borain bought it from Mondello.
Yeah.
The 348 GTB.
Was it a left hooker or a right hooker?
Left hooker.
Left hooker. Okay.
And a GTB is a rare car. Oh God, kind of look bad now. Meant to know my job. I think there's a couple of hundred of them only made. So it was kind of the last years of production. They had a wider rear axle and they had a different intake manifold. So they had all 13 or
And they
14
painted
brake
the
horsepower.
sills.
Oh, they painted the sills.
Yeah.
So they did.
I'm fully on the black sill.
Black
camp.
sill is.
I
I'm black
prefer
sill.
So that's a
much-
TSTB.
Yeah,
much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said it to you before. I think 348 is bargain for money.
Shut up.
They are. But look. No, I'm looking.
Hold on to this for like a year maybe,
No.
and then say that
No.
once I've bought one.
What you really want to do is you want to save up and you want to. I know you want a hard top, but you really want to
I want
convert.
a Target.
No, you want the convertible. You want the convertible, has the higher brake horsepower, rarer. I'm telling you, it won't drive as good.
No.
But they didn't drive good anyway.
See, the problem is you let me into a Viper, which is similar money. Jesus, that was good.
Yeah,
That was a lot better than you. You'd think it's going to be American and wet, and it just wasn't.
and you only drove it on probably 8 of the 10 cylinders.
Yeah.
Like when we got it, when we put the coil pack in it afterwards, the 2 coil packs, it was
Night and day.
yeah. And what a fucking pain in the balls to fit the coil pack. Like
yeah.
no. Like the lads added up and like you're nearly they suggest you take out parts of the gearbox to take the fit. So yeah, I know.
So they returned the car to a frame.
To a frame, yeah. So
So when that came back, were you like, did you see it one day and go, oh, hang on, I know that?
I know that. Yeah.
There's not two of them.
There's not 2 of them. No. And then what happened? Well, look, I know what happened, and it's kind of funny.
Like, it just started to snowball.
Yeah,
from
well,
there,
it kind of
and-
it did and it didn't. But like, unfortunately, at the time, I wasn't declaring selling cars. That was the
Right.
truth. I wasn't. So I got cut by Revenue.
Yeah.
That was the long and short of it. So I entered into an agreement with Revenue to pay them off, and what that actually did was it allowed me to actually operate properly as a business. Because now I realised I have to put every single thing through, I started exporting cars to the UK.
Yeah.
And then I started to actually make real money. So when I paid off Revenue, which you do, unfortunately, I opened, as most car dealers know, yeah. And then I opened Deane Motors. So opened Deane Motors.
What year are we roughly now?
I opened Deane Motors probably 8 or 9 years ago, I think. So what did I do from there?
This was in
Haddington Road.
Haddington Road.
Haddington
yeah,
Road.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the workshop was always the workshop. So my dad was working there, my brother was working there. And
And that's another thing, is the whole family was kind of into cars. Like James had been driving E28.
yeah, E28. He had an
555s for
E55 AMG. He had everything. And again, when cars were affordable. But he went. What did we do after that? So the business was picking up, and then I realised I needed a premises. I tried to do a deal with the late Dermot Wallace on his place.
Yes,
Did.
just up the road.
Just
from
up the
Chris
road
Fleming.
from Chris
Yeah,
Fleming,
yeah.
and not being bad. Thankfully, I didn't, because what was I going to do with a 2-car garage and
Yeah.
park everything on the street? My opinion
I
was
could never understand how he operated.
I don't know
that
how he
place.
did it either.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it either.
Yeah.
But my thought was that you always had to be in. You always had to be in Dublin. No one's ever going to follow you anywhere else.
Yeah.
So set up a showroom at my house. My mother-in-law, thankfully, and my wife allowed me to build a showroom at the back of the gaff. So set up a showroom, and the business kind of went from.
It was half showroom, half like ultimate man cave.
Oh, listen, sure, I designed it for myself. Of course, it was functional for business, but
Yeah, it wasn't just like a corrugated steel shed. Now this thing. It was,
no, it was a steel tech shed. What can I do? It was all I could afford at the time,
Yeah.
and got to dig out from people, and I got to lend the money, and we kind of kicked off from there. But we were lucky in a sense that that was the next step, because what happened was, even though our garage was in Hannington Road for whatever 40 years, the trying to sell a car from a back street in Dublin doesn't look good, especially when you're trying to sell nice stuff.
Come down this lane.
Come down this lane, and while I stand over this wheel with the lads smashing the ball joint in the back of the car, is there any chance you might pay me for this? It just didn't work. So when I moved
all
out,
the fellas from the pub coming out and
this is it.
having a lean.
Yeah. So we went. Like I can't. This is nowhere near an accurate figure, but say we went from a turnover of £2 million a year, we went straight to 4 million from the showroom immediately, and then that's what transformed it. We looked good on paper. Instagram is ridiculous.
Now it's the big leagues.
Now you're like, wow, look at this place. It's mystical. It's magical.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
want to go there.
it's at the back of my
Might
gaff.
just buy something.
You might just buy something. And we always did appointment to view, so no one could just come in and look. And that's the one thing you kind of realise selling cars. Within seconds of speaking to someone on the phone, you know whether they're going to buy a car or not, and you know who the time wasters are.
And you also know that who's not buying the car,
Yeah.
and who's just collecting the car, because you give them an E92 M3 with 8 miles of range and go, do you have money? Good luck.
Good luck.
That was a fun
good
one.
luck. But everyone should know you're involved in the motor trade.
I-
You should know. No
I
one
had a
leaves
team of
petrol in
people
cars.
to push me should I go wrong.
This is what made you,
Well, petrol.
this is what made you a star on
Well,
Instagram.
on Instagram.
This was my first in-person experience with Simon Deane. Was he comes out in a robe and slippers, throws me 2 sets of keys to an E92 M3 with 8 miles range, goes,
Oh,
good
fuck.
luck.
It's all after day. It's all dawning on me now. I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, just goes, do you have cash? I goes, yeah. You go, good luck.
Oh,
Goes
man,
back in.
I actually remember. Oh my god, it's actually all come back to me now. I do remember that. Yeah, fucking hell, that's bad.
How does anyone go back to this fella? No, it wasn't my car. I was just doing the delivery.
That was a
driving,
that
but
was a nice car.
It was a nice car. It's
Oh,
still
that was
going
a
around.
nice car. I actually know the guy who owns it now.
Yeah.
Oh, what a car.
I got black flagged up on Dello with that car.
Oh, what a car. It's such a nice one, that one. Oh,
No,
man.
no, it really, really was. Jerez black with just this red Napa leather. It was just
Yeah,
so
Alcantara
nice.
head cloth, steering wheels, had the 18-inch wheels.
Yeah.
Big wheels. I'm not a big wheel man. I'm an 18-inch wheel man.
Yeah.
That was like the perfect size.
I'm all about comfort.
Yeah.
I love a bit of sidewall.
yeah, I love a bit of side.
Well, actually, the other thing is, when I don't know what the timeline was, but I remember you put up a post looking for an employee,
Yeah.
and every person I know sent it to me and said, this is you all over. I think Simon Walsh got the job.
Simon Walsh, yeah. Well,
I never applied for it because I didn't think I'd get a Ferrari working for someone else.
And you know what it was? It was, and like probably Simon will say it, Simon knew nothing about cars when he started working there. Nothing. He'd literally only got his driving license. And no, really, he'd only got his driving license. So I had met Simon out for a few pints a couple of times because he's my wife's cousin. And we always just had the crack. And I said, well, if I'm going to have to work with someone, I'm going to have a bit of fun with them. So I rang him one day, and he was working in a cafe in Mayo, McHugh's. And he said, I said, look for someone for a job. And as he calls me and everyone else calls me, Simon Pipe Dream Deane. I sold him a dream. And the dream was, listen, it's a handy job. It's kind of like 9 to 5. We'd be flying to the UK. We'd be picking up cars. We'd be having a bit of cracking. There'd be no working weekends. And there'd be nothing. Yeah, right. Simon Walsh has
Never switch
aged.
off.
Simon has aged. If he looks, oh man. There's pictures of him when he started working. He looked like he loved life. And now he just looks like the life's been sucked out of him.
Yeah, the picture of him in the dressing gown, in the chair, the expression is you just, Jesus.
I know. But the one thing I will say, as much hard work as this has been all the way along, we always had the crack.
Yeah.
I mean, I laugh. Like, if we break down or we went on trips, and that's the thing about the car thing. It's more of a community. The crack.
Oh, like that's so I went out there a week ago today to help move the cars, and it was the first time. Like, I didn't even want to text you afterwards because I was just like, everyone's going to be blowing the phone up. Like, I don't have the right thing to say. I'm just not going to say anything. Show up there to help move the cars. I'm like, this is going to be awkward as fuck. And I laughed.
We did.
For a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Moving these things around. Everyone, you, all the other lads. I won't name everyone that was
Yeah.
there, but we were all just having the crack, moving these cars around, joking, everything. I was like,
But I mean, what are you going to do? Like,
oh, if you don't laugh, you cry.
if you don't laugh, you cry. And not gonna lie, I have cried so much over the last week, and not even in a poor me sort of thing. But fuck me, man. I suppose initially when I suppose we should probably talk about the.
So you go. Well, I guess the thing is how you get from there to there.
I'll tell you that, and then we'll hit that.
Yeah. So you start doing
well.
Yeah.
Everything's doing great.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. But what's happened is there's only so much capacity one man can have at the back of his garden.
Yeah.
And the workshop in town was
struggling
struggling.
all over the grass and everything.
Listen, at one stage we were on the grass. And
Yeah.
my mother-in-law, I'd like to say she loves me, but she probably hates me. The place is destroyed.
Yeah.
But we... sorry, I've just gone brain dead here. Just trying to think about the rest of my life. So no, what happened was...
so you've outgrown it, really.
We've completely outgrown it. And we were looking for somewhere else. And my now business partner, Les and Angus, they had only sold their tech company. And I didn't actually know. I hadn't got a breeze that they had sold it. And I remember in the process, Les was buying a Lamborghini and I was helping him get the deal together for it. And we were just having a talk about stuff. And I said, I have this kind of idea or dream about it. And obviously...
A pipe dream?
Pipe dream, Simon. Pipe dream, Deane. So no, we went... I told him all about this kind of vision and idea that I had. And it wasn't that I was revolutionary. I just copied everyone else in the UK. Let's call it spade a spade.
Caffeine in the machine.
Caffeine in the machine, all that sort of stuff. Absolutely. And but there was nothing like it in Ireland. No. So I remember we were just talking about it, and then Les rang me back and he said, I was talking to Angus and geez, we're really excited about this. Would you want to talk to us about it? And I was like, yeah, fucking sure. Never didn't think in a million years that this was ever going to happen. And we sat down and within, I think, a couple of days, we decided we were going to do it, and that was it.
What point did you have the conversation with yourself and going, for doing this, you're going to be the face of it? And you're going to take the good with the bad and whatever people have to say online and all that. Like, everyone's going to have an opinion.
I'm sure everyone has an opinion anyway. Sure, like...
But what goes, Joa, it's worth it.
I suppose... to be completely honest, I used to only value myself, my own self-worth, on how much money I made. I know that's a really ridiculous thing. And
that was your metric.
That was my metric. That was how I valued myself as a person. And sure, we can talk about it. We're on an L podcast. I've been to therapy. I've been everything. No, truthfully. Like, I suffered with depression and still on anxiety tablets, depression medication. But like...
Is that really just from...
That was from work. That was before the engine block, before all of that.
Yeah.
And I've been through some really, really bad times. But my real measure of self-worth used to be how well I had done. Yeah. And whether how much money I made or whatever, I valued myself as a person by, I'm doing this. And it was really to kind of show the people that kind of said I do nothing, that I would do something. And it's a terrible way to value your life.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm going to be honest. Look what's happened the last couple of weeks. I'm sad because we've missed, and whatever we've done is kind of gone. But I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I have family, kids. The last few years, I haven't even seen them. And this is a changing point to kind of say, sort your life out. It doesn't matter anymore.
It is. And look, I've had slightly in a different way, but I've had similar thing. Like when you're building a business, especially when you're doing something on your own, you're not part of a big company empire and all that. It's hard and it takes a huge amount of work to do. You've got to be selfish to a certain degree, and that does. Family suffer. You miss things. Your long hours, and that's the thing. I guess people don't see.
People have literally no idea.
Yeah.
So obviously, my partners, they had a chunk of cash, but I had to do whatever I had to do to get in on a level playing field. So I sold premises in Ballsbridge. I remortgaged houses. I did everything. I sold every possession that I had to get in. So anyone who looks and thinks those lads are just fucking doing this, balls. I am smashed in a real world. Asset rich, cash poor. I worked my balls off. My wife, family, everyone worked their balls off. And it wasn't easy. The fucking stress. It's just unreal how hard it was. And we went from being a garage that fucking hell, barely kept any accounts. I handed a bunch of receipts to an accountant, and then I went into
a box of receipts.
Oh, listen, and then you go in and you're dealing with proper business people, and they're looking at the way you're running a business, and they're like, "How did you ever survive?" And we realistically probably didn't. You know what I mean? We just kept on going, and fingers crossed we'd go for the best.
Seat of your pants kind of stuff.
That was how it looked.
Yeah.
That was how I always did everything off kind of a gut feeling, and whether it was good or bad, I kind of saw it through. But like the one thing I will take from all of this is the lads helped me so much to actually run a business properly, have proper accounts, have systems for things, proper checks on cars. Like cars go in, they were inspected, they were right going out. Stuff like that made a big difference, and it changed us. It just brought the standard of cars up. And I mean, I went from, I remember one stage, nearly every car was a warranty scenario. Every car would come back, there'd be something wrong, and every day it's a headache. To, I would say, out of the last 100 cars we sold, probably 2 or 3 of them, warranty issues. And not stuff that you've caused, it's just shit happens.
Just stuff happens. But that's a tricky thing, because you're dealing with classic cars. Oh, man. It's a whole other world compared to, you know.
And people used to laugh, and even the lads, you say, how can you put a warranty on a car that's 30 or 40 years old? Because you have to.
Yeah.
Because if something goes wrong, it's your name and it's your brand that's on the line. So yeah, you fix it. And
so the idea then to create, you know, what we know as the engine block.
Yeah.
That was it. You know, you've obviously grouped together a lot of different businesses.
So that was
that was how it was going to work.
So again, it was pure vision. So we needed somewhere that had space, and we needed somewhere to put enough businesses in it to make it worthwhile. So the first person was Jonathan from JC Auto Care. Our big issue was that we spent most of our day on the road driving between places, to our workshop in town, to JC Auto Care, to all of those places. So we pulled all of our people that we liked. We put our workshop in there. We put restoration. We had Jonathan there. Drift Games contacted us about the place, and they said, look, we love the idea. Our thing isn't getting off the ground in Mondello. That was the truth. They came in, they viewed the place, and we were delighted to have them there. Drift Games were a brilliant tenant. They were brilliant. They brought a mystique.
Yeah.
You know, like we sold classic cars and we had great stuff there, but it was an interesting side to it.
Yeah.
And
they were a totally different genre altogether.
Completely.
You know?
And
actually what they did upstairs was
unbelievable.
so
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I knew Dave and I knew the lads, but I didn't know enough about it because it wasn't
your thing.
Not my thing. But what they did create was something awesome. And the likes of Jonathan there, Jonathan, in my own opinion, is the best detailer I've ever seen. Attention to detail and a nice person. And to have people like that around you was just deadly. Every day it was awesome. So that took a lot of pressure and hassle because you had to, each individual, everyone had their bills to pay to get into the place. It wasn't simple.
That's all I'm going to say. Oh, well, they do good business. But if you don't get on, like you're seeing this person every day,
every single day, sharing the
that.
premises.
So it can't just be like, oh, they're a good cash cow.
Yeah.
You have to get on with them.
No. Everyone had to be on the same. Everyone had to be together there. None of the tenants disliked each other. None of them. And we all looked after each other. We all fed into each other's business. And that was the whole idea, that the businesses there would complement each other and that we'd be able to have this space that we could run events. Obviously me, Simon Deane, didn't think about the logistics of, there might be a few people who might come and the business park isn't going to be happy with it, which they weren't. Because I've no hindsight, I just think, sure, it'd be grand, build it and they'll come.
All right in the night.
All right in the night.
Yeah.
But you seen it, like you were there on the Friday night lights. I was parking people in the business park all the way up, like hundreds of cars, and that was amazing, and I loved that. There was no money out of it. Not being funny, like
what? No one that's shown up there is paying in.
No,
there's no entry fee. There was nothing.
Nothing.
There would just be a couple of hundred people descend on this cul-de-sac of a Friday night in the blistering cold, and just stand around and just look at stuff. You know, there isn't a financial aspect there. There's no one going to be coming out in a car.
No.
Like that.
No. And like the thing that I loved about it was my big gripe with Ireland is that if the weather's bad, which it always is, there's nowhere to go. So at least when the weather was shit, people could come inside.
Well, me and Kelvin were only talking about this last week. We said, suffer through all the winter of standing outside, freezing cold toes.
Can't even enjoy the summer. Like I was standing up there the other day and the thoughts, but yeah, it's a fucking disaster.
So very quickly, the end drop became this very people latched on in the way that kind of had hoped they would.
Yeah.
People showed up. You opened the gates, they showed up. What was it, last July? Opened properly.
Yeah.
I was at the launch.
Yeah.
It was really big. A lot of people kind of just embraced it. And since then, I've been out there nearly every week, either in a professional or recreational capacity, doing something. I've never gone there and not had the crack.
Yeah.
Everyone just came down. You go, sure, what, we'll just go for a coffee, see what's on, see what's happening. And
it was kind of like that. That was the thing. It was kind of like, because we'd been to Cafe and Machine, you know, in the UK, which is an amazing setup. It's like, it's so good. And that was, and when we were there initially, when it opened, I remember the guys who were involved with it, and they were opening that, and I thought, man, what we
what are we missing? What do we give to have it?
That kind of thing.
And that's that is the sad part, because fucking we're back to car parks, man.
Really, it's when it's gone that you go, oh damn.
Yeah.
It felt so natural when you were there after a couple of weeks and kind of get the lay of the land all.
And everyone was welcome. You know that. Yeah. Apart from
I know that. Yeah.
The sentiment. Don't be a dick.
Yeah. There was one or two people that were.
Yeah, of course. But that's Ireland.
But that was the thing.
Yeah.
Because that's traditionally that's all we've ever had.
Yeah.
And naturally, people will always push it as far as they can.
Yeah.
Of
But
course.
then you also, that was the thing. You had some old bus there doing coffees, doing all that kind of stuff.
Like that was Simon Walsh's baby.
It was just such a great kind of. It kind of had a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
And you had the event space. You know, the showroom was cool set up and all that. It
was cool.
It wasn't like a car dealership. And I think, was that the thing that you really didn't want it to be a car dealership?
Of course. I mean, like, the family aspect to me is still a really big thing. And I loved the fact that I went in every day and I could actually see my dad. Because when the workshop was in town, there was days, weeks that I wouldn't see him because I was so busy doing other things.
Yeah.
And I just loved that it was normal and there was no puff about it. People came in, people's kids came in, people sat in cars, people hanged out. That's what I liked. There was no pressure scenario.
I was very, very laid back. You'd walk in and just go, all right, you big agent.
Yeah, but that's, look, Team Motors, we're professional. We're professional in the sense of, you know what I mean, we sell good products and we do good work. Right? Yeah, I'm sure there's people on here that will say, Simon Deane never gets back to me. That's the truth. Because, like, you know, sometimes, no exaggeration, of 140 phone calls a day.
Yeah, it's very easy for people to believe that they are the only thing that matters on the day and that you do nothing else but wait for them to ring.
Yeah, no, look, I understand.
But we're very...
and obviously, when a business gets bigger and bigger and bigger,
of course.
it's not like you're selling a handful of cars a year.
No,
and you have,
like, we went from selling... Jesus, I think I went from selling 40 cars one year to last year was over 300. And I do all the sales. No one else sells cars. So I do all the buying, the consigning, the selling.
Yeah. And someone shows up and you have to be who they want you to be in that moment. And whether they take an hour to poke around the car just to not buy it, you still have to be the Simon Deane, face that they need you to be for that hour.
And, like, I give it, like, the one scenario I actually remembered recently, I'd say it was a couple of months ago, and I would go in on a Saturday and I would line up viewings for people. So I usually leave an hour and a half for people to view a car. Because some people walk in, they'll buy it in 10 minutes and they'll leave, and that's fine. But if you're buying your first classic car, you need all the time in the world.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. You're not sure,
absolutely.
All that kind of
But I remember, like, a lady bought a beautiful MG office, and I know I put beautiful and MG into one sentence there. Sorry. No, I actually love MGs. They just break your heart. But she bought a car and she was lovely, and it was her first classic car, and she knew about stuff, and you know, you have to give people time. And I remember it went over. So what that it went over, and unfortunately I had someone else lined up, and I let them know, and then at the same time someone else walked in, and some people are very understanding. One person left in a huff because his appointment was late, and I appreciate you have things going on, but like, it was a big deal for people. We took the time with everyone. That the car that he was coming to view was over 100 grand, but the MG was like, I think 15 grand. But it doesn't matter. That's what I liked. Didn't matter whether you were spending 15 grand or 100 grand. Everyone is exactly the same. We just tried our best. That's all you can do. That's what anyone does.
Any job, that's all you can do.
Try your best.
Yeah.
And the big thing
and the thing is, I've worked in the trade before. I've done that, and you will, it doesn't matter. You will have. I still remember. I had customers, and they became best friends. They were great to deal with. And then you also have customers who are absolute melts. Just And there are people, like, I always remember, and I'll never say it, but I had one customer that I actually just told, please just don't ever come back.
Yeah.
Because we will never be able to meet this expectation
Absolutely.
that you have.
Yeah.
And then they got in even more of a huff.
Yeah.
But it's like, so there are people, and so...
But that's like
Can't please everyone.
Can't please everyone.
Yeah.
But we are, unfortunately speaking, in past tense. Remember how your husband used to love a laugh?
Yeah.
So a week and a half ago.
It was a bit of a weird one. Myself and Simon, I went to collect a beautiful RX-7 Aspirador from a customer, and I was delivering a car as well to the Burren. I had sold a 535 to a customer, and I agreed. That's what we did. I said, look, I'll deliver it down. And when I was down there, I said, we'll stay in my favourite hotel. No plug for the hotel here. I'm only messing. We stay in this place called Gregan's. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's really cool. So myself and Simon Walsh rocked up. We'd worked our balls off for the week beforehand. We were wrecked. And I said, okay, cool. Sit here. We'll have a few drinks. So sitting down in the middle of dinner, I had literally spoken to the lads in the workshop. Literally, when I say minutes, it's on my phone, like 2 or 3 minutes prior to the fire. And we were discussing what we were going to do on a certain car. I gave them the go-ahead to do whatever work it was. And then...
This is in and around 9:15
9
of a Monday night.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of the burn, and next of all I look at my phone and it's a fire alarm comes off. I said, no, that's unusual. And Kieran was there. At the time, Kieran was doing work, auto-electric work for us.
So just for anyone who, is still casting aspersions, there were 2 people on site in real time.
Yeah.
No one got there after a while or anything. There were 2 people in the building.
There were 2 people in the building at the time. So Kieran was working inside the showroom on a Mercedes we had there at the time. And fire alarm goes off. I look at it and, sometimes you have faulty fire alarms. So I flicked. I was literally going to text over the code to cancel out the alarm. And then I get a phone call of Les. And he says... There's smoke coming out of the showroom. He'd looked at, obviously saw the camera, and he said, there's smoke in the showroom. So all of a sudden then, I hung up off that. I said, I'll look at the cameras. Then Kieran rang me and he said, the building's on fire. He says, we're okay, the building's on fire. And then he hung up. And I remember looking at the cameras, and it went from smoke out of one side of the building to blackout on some cameras, and then this inferno of flames. And then Kieran rings me and he said, we got out, we're okay, but the whole building's on fire. I've called 911, we're outside the building. And within 6 minutes, that was it.
Yeah, I had got the timeline from Kieran, and it was just coming up to 9:15 or so. And he runs into the workshop, can't get in the door, so much smoke.
So much smoke, yeah.
He's shouting at Dimitro, going, just get out.
Yeah.
And he can hear the fire extinguisher going, and he just says, get out.
Dimitro emptied 3 fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the CCTV at one point, and he ran back into the building. And I was like, why the fuck did he run back into the building? And it was only when you were in talking to the insurance investigators, he ran into the building because he was trying to close the door to quench the oxygen getting to the fire. Like, that was the mind frame he was in.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
this was
I've left something inside.
He couldn't be seen across the workshop, and he's still trying to fight the fire. And Kieran couldn't go in and get him.
Yeah.
Or else they
neither of them would have made it out.
So they get out, and at that stage, there was just smoke coming out through the shutters from the workshop. And the fire brigade were already on the way, and you go, okay, that's not great. But it's probably going to be one side of the building. Yeah. If this was retrospective and you'd seen it only on the cameras, then you have to call, that's a whole different scenario. You go, cool, fire brigade's on the way. 15 minutes later, there are flames out the top of the building.
Oh, yeah.
Flames.
Flames, yeah.
And you go, ooh,
but like,
it's not great.
Look at what's in a garage.
Yeah.
Everything is flammable.
Petrol.
Everything. There's a lot.
I mean, what's going through your head at this point?
Well, I mean, at this stage, I'm probably 4 drinks deep, so I can't go anywhere. Myself and Simon. It's not like I can jump in the car and go up the road. And I'm getting information from my wife who's turned up at the scene. I'm getting information from Angus, my business partner. Everyone is calling me. Kieran, it's fucking unreal. It's just unreal, and you're watching it in real time. People are putting up videos. I think it was probably better that I wasn't there. it was, yeah, it was kind of very sad to see it the following day, but it was mad, like the place. And then, like I remember talking to James, who owns MotorZone, and I was talking to him on the phone at probably 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 or 2 or whatever it was. I think I was sitting on the couch on my own downstairs, and between myself and Simon Walsh laughing about it at the start, as in laughing, typical us, there's a fire, we're always bad luck, you know what I mean? Think that'll be put out.
And of course, it happens the one time that you're on the other side
of the country, and like you're like, that'll be put out in no time. Never in a million years did I think would take out the building. Ever.
No.
In a million.
No.
Like the workshop, you could get away with.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
And like I had so many people, because they know that, you know, I would be out there quite a bit, and I mean, people who aren't even into cars are ringing me going, do you know the engine block's on fire? Do you think that you found out before me?
Yeah.
And I'm just going, yeah, no, it's okay. It's not. It's just, there's fire doors. I know the layout. There's huge fire doors in the workshop and all that. Then there's a canteen. Then there's the showroom. You know.
Yeah.
And they're going, oh. Before you know it, it's in the roof, going across the roof, and into the rest of the building.
Well, I mean,
fire
like,
doors only do so much when it goes over them.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember like my wife left. She left at like 1:30, 1:00, and she said, "Look, do you have it under control?" And I was like, "Thank God!" Like thinking it's only one side of the building.
Yeah.
So do you have it under control? There's nothing more we can do here. We're all heading off. And then I remember speaking to James then from MotorZone, and we did like a video chat. And he said, "Look at it now." And he turned around. Drift Games was wiped out. Smoke was bellowing out through the windows. There was fire shooting out of the roof. That all happened. The fire brigade actually thought that they had it under control. I don't know anything about fire, unfortunately. But I do know that it just took a different hold, and then it wiped out the rest of the building. And then, of course, in Franklin's you had electric bikes, and it's just fucking...
The devil.
The aftermath of it is unreal, and obviously the lads, every single business there has suffered a loss. Obviously the most public would be Drift Games because they're an international thing, but like,
they're also the most difficult because, you know, as a business you can insure for stock.
Yeah.
You know, you have to say what you have, how much, values, amounts, everything. How, from a business perspective, do you have what is essentially a prop in a drift car? It's not a road registered thing, so you can't insure it like that. You know, that's a way more tricky situation when it gets to a scenario like this.
Of course, and I mean, there's no doubt about it here, right? There's so many people have genuinely lost their livelihoods here. So we've let staff go. We had to, because at the moment we have no income coming in. So we have to try keep the business going enough until we get some sort of interim payment or something from an insurance company to keep us afloat. So anyway, if there's any suppliers listening here, we have your money, so don't worry.
Well, that's another thing is, are you currently selling cars?
Can't.
You can't.
Can't. Sure, all the cars are locked on site, and we haven't like we've been appointed a motor assessor. No one has even viewed one car up there yet. Nothing. And what are we, a week and a half in?
Yeah, people are asking online, you know, the ads are still being renewed and stuff. Is stuff still for sale?
Obviously, the cars that aren't damaged, that weren't in the fire, are for sale. We've taken down the cars that have been, obviously.
So if it's online...
If it's online, it's for sale.
And it can be viewed and bought? To an extent.
Well, yeah, it can be viewed and bought when I can get the cars off site.
Cool.
We aren't allowed on site because it's a destruction derby up there at the moment.
Yeah.
The building was unsafe, so no one's allowed.
It was coming down by itself, so they had to bring in
Yeah.
diggers.
It's a fucking clusterfuck. I know you have no idea.
Is it?
You have no idea what we're working through.
Is it still kind of surreal for you?
Yeah, I was up there the other day, and it's just fucking like everything you've worked for is gone. Truthfully, it is. And you know, you have hindsight and all that sort of stuff. We should have done this, should have done that. But something really, really important for the Irish community, as well as our business, is gone. And I want to stress this: our business is gone. Like, we can't operate at the moment. Thankfully, the Drift Games, a lot of stuff is done on and social media, and they have events around the world. But Franklin's is gone. They can't sell bikes. Their workshop is gone. MotorZone put hundreds of thousands into building that business up. After they bought it, gone. Jonathan's new premises, all the cash he had, gone. It's a fucking wipeout. And anyone who thinks that you're getting the money from insurance, you're never getting paid.
You don't know how insurance works.
You don't know insurance. Obviously, we're getting something.
But
like,
insurance's main game
course.
is to not pay out.
Of course it is.
They're not going to hand out anything they don't have.
No, of course. And then it's a willingness to do it again.
And then you have...
So what's I mean that's the thing, is like, where are you now? Are you kind of going, okay, I want to keep doing this. I want to get past this, and
I'm at a pretty hard juncture, and the reason for that is I don't know if I have it in me. Look, that's not for the listeners, in case anyone's thinking. I just fucking, it's like just getting kicked in the balls, properly kicked in the balls several times. And I mean, you have, like, it is, like, at the moment we're dealing with, obviously we've no income coming in, right? And you have to keep a staff on, because at the moment what we're trying to figure out is we've 40 something cars without keys, right? So then we have to pay for all the keys to be made, but no one's allowed on site to make the keys yet until the insurance company. We haven't got the go ahead to make keys. Then we have cars that their engines were inside the buildings and their car was outside and their engines are no more. So now are their cars written off? Question mark, right?
And you have gap insurance as well, because they go, well, it's diminished value because it hasn't got the original engine. Or if it was modified in the first case, you go, well, it wouldn't really matter.
Well, none of these cars, thankfully none of the cars were modified. But then you have, like, you've cars now that, say, are worth 150 grand and their service history has gone up in a blitz. On a 40-year-old, say, Aston Martin, you are wiping 40, 50 grand off the price of that car. You can't prove shit.
I promise it was serviced.
But it's the big... You go to sell it... My service history was lost in a fire. Give me a fucking break. It's like saying the dog ate your homework.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have you been tempted at all to embrace it in a way?
In what way?
You know, obviously, from a... like that you can't bring back that insurance.
Yeah.
Or that service history. You can't bring that back. But is there any part of you that goes, do you know what, let's own this and let's just not make light of it, but go, yeah, it wasn't a fire. Here's the pictures.
Yeah. No, listen, I laugh, right? Because, like, sure, I mean, like, I'll give you a real world scenario.
Why this Aston Martin that made it through a fire? It's that good.
Sure, I'll give you a real world scenario. I had to ring my bank this week to try and get a mortgage moratorium because, like, I'm not making any money, so I need to try and sort my life out. They wanted me. Listen, we need a letter from the insurance company or the guards to prove there was a fire. I said, why don't you just click online there?
Yeah.
And then, like, you're talking to the person on the phone, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a big story. No, that should be okay.
Yeah. Did you ring your insurance company and they go, we've been waiting?
Well, listen, funny enough, the first person I rang, they were like, oh man, we don't know what to say to you. And it's, like, the ins and outs of what's going on at the moment. And then it's terrible because you've customers literally being left in the lurch and you're telling them the same thing every day. I'm so sorry, no one has looked at your car, I've no information for you. And they just think you're messing.
Yeah.
But they're not. Like, I have solicitors' letters coming out of my ass at the moment for cars that are up there, ones that weren't involved in the fire and are now outside, that potentially could get damaged. We aren't allowed to take them off site. We can't do shit.
That's another thing, is what is the official word for any customers that have a car that is stuck on site?
So the official word is this. We have our insurance, right? But the problem is, until every car is individually assessed, we can't let them off site because we don't know what was damaged and not damaged. So if you want to really, really take your car off site, absolutely. But
And
you're
do they
letting
get in contact
go.
with you?
Well, no. If you want, what I'm saying is, you let it go off site, you can forget about any insurance for yourselves. And I keep telling people that if something's wrong, our insurance is going to fix it. But you
there's a
take that
process.
off site, forget about it. We
Yeah.
can't prove that it was done.
No,
before
and
or after.
you have 40 odd cars that are outside, and you need to
We know we've
evaluate current condition.
We have 100 and something cars outside.
Yeah,
But, like, we have 40 that have no keys. We have cars that have major smoke damage. We have cars that are burnt to a crisp. We have cars that have water damage. One car had water up to the seats, not the bottoms of the seats, like the seats. A fucking Quattro outside, destroyed. Because that was the fire. The water from the fire went in and fucking
Unfortunately,
annihilated the
you
car.
have to kind of put water on it to get rid of it.
You know what I mean?
And
And, like, it's every single car, everything is just different. It's not this is a set case, this is the value of this car because there's hundreds for sale in Ireland. Every single car is going to be an independent assessment of value.
And now a couple of cars did make it out of the showroom.
Yeah.
It wasn't a full destruction of every single car that was indoors.
Yeah.
Is there any survivor's guilt over that? That, you know, everyone else's shit all got wiped to zero. You still have some.
It's not that it's survivor's guilt. I mean, the thing is, like, there's cars in there that have damage. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Right?
You've seen cars that were
You've
inside.
seen the cars that were inside that have damage. And then you have cars that look potentially fine, but we don't know.
No.
You just don't know.
You know, obviously smoke damage, for anyone who doesn't know, that has carcinage in it and all that. It's
You've
not
no
just
idea.
as simple as wiping it off and starting again.
And the smell is unreal
For
in
years.
some cars. You just can't get rid of it. But I mean, like, you just have stuff there, and it's fucking shit because, look, the cars were there for sale, right? But at the moment, you have someone's pride and joy or your own, and you have their money, and they're in limbo. And it's not just you. There's hundreds of people involved here. And it's not just a normal insurance claim. This is like probably 8 or 10 million, the whole thing. The whole building. You've
That's
all
not
the
even
bits.
an entire hub burns
This
down.
is a whole fucking culture that is gone. It's like, I don't know what to do myself.
I guess that's the thing. Like, so you know, we talked about community, all that kind of, you know, what the engine block represented, what it was. It was a place for people to go. There's obviously, you know, everybody really in the car community has seen what happened over the last week, 10 days. There are obviously, I imagine, I hope there's a lot of people that want to try and help, want to try and support, feel bad for what happened. Like, what is there anything that,
I mean,
you know, the community, the wider community can do in terms of...
Look, I know, like, I'm not going to say any names. There's some customers who have just been insane. And the words of support from people, even people we don't know, has been deadly. But, like, some customers would have literally rang up and some other businesses and offered free tools, free lifts, use of garage space, everything. And it's brilliant. But, like, we're pretty down and out here at the moment.
Yeah. As someone that suffers from anxiety, when you have one side that's just complete devastation and the other side that's overwhelming outpouring of support, do you kind of just find it all in the middle and just submerging yourself in it and just go, I can't take this?
Look, no, I mean, look, there's no... Look, fuck me, I'd love to walk away from this now. Jesus Christ, I would.
You can't go work in Sen.
Go down to Mr. Sene.
You go Mr. Sene, Marbella. But it's... I have too many obligations. I have loans. I have a family. My own family work there. And what are they going to do? But obviously, anyone who knows, we put our own merch up online, and anyone who bought it, thank you so much. And the same for drift games and all that. Like, the support is overwhelming, but no exaggeration. We are, at this moment in time, we are pretty fucking fucked.
Yeah.
That's
so
the truth.
for that merch, so just for anyone listening to
Sorry.
that, if they do want to...
Dave being ever the optimist here, please buy this man's merch, he needs your money. I'll say this, I'm not looking for charity, and I'm sure we could set up a GoFundMe and people would help us, right? But truthfully, anyone who's listening, this is not a the lads would be grand scenario. This is, at this moment in time, we don't know where we are. So potentially the business could be no more. We don't know. That's just the way it is. But at this moment in time, we're keeping a good face out. Anyone who is there or any cars will obviously be looked after. That's not a worry. So anyone who's listening, your cars, if anyone's car is damaged, it'll be paid for. If something has happened, there'll be retribution for everything.
But people have to be a little bit patient because this is an unprecedented event, really.
It really is, truthfully. But look, it is what it is. I said it last week. If Dimitro died or Kieran died, we wouldn't be. Yeah, we wouldn't even be we wouldn't be talking about values. Yeah, we wouldn't be talking about business.
It's metal and plastic.
It's fucking whatever. That's what I said to you earlier on. I do not care anymore.
It means a lot to people, but you know, ultimately, it has a price.
Of course it does.
And it may be inflated, whatever it means to someone. But you can't bring back a person with money.
No. And listen, I said it earlier on, like, not that I don't care. I mean, I'm alive. My family's alive.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. And the lads who work there, who worked really hard, and Dimitro and Kieran, I mean, they were alive. If anything had happened to them, this would be a different scenario. No one would be on video crying about it and looking for money or support. No, there'd be a different scenario.
Now, I have one final question.
That is me naked in that picture. Sorry.
Why did you burn it down? We were making...
Sorry.
There's many stories online.
That is funny, actually, sorry.
And
quite funny.
just for anyone that's online, there were people there. And there's much easier ways to get 65% of your value than burning down your own building.
Oh, yeah.
Last Friday, we moved all the cars away from the building before it came down.
Yeah.
And it was great crack, given the circumstance.
Yeah.
There was jokes, there was laughing. And then there was a moment when the signs came off the wall.
Yeah. That was
And
sad.
everything got really, really heavy and melancholy all of a sudden.
It's kind of a shit one. My mum was there and my dad. And I know it sounds like... I feel so sad for my dad because he's been there for... It's a beautiful sound in the background. Yeah. That's the ambulance coming to pick him up. Now, I feel sad for my dad because he worked so hard and the business wasn't about him in that, like, there was no financial gain for him. He just worked there now because he just loved working and being around us. I felt so sorry for him because kind of the evolution of what he kind of started was completely gone. And I think that's shit. And my mum was there and everyone was crying and everyone was upset. Everyone. I don't care. There was not a man there who wasn't crying. Stephen Brady, Jonathan, myself, everyone was in tears. Because we really did build something that was very cool. Yeah. In my own opinion. Whatever.
No, it was. And there was a moment when that sign came off the wall. It just kind of made it all...
very real.
Very real. Bar seeing the whole shell of the building, you go,
no.
oh wow. The sign comes off and we stood there. There's no cars in the yard anymore. It's just you guys and the sign. And everyone just kind of went, oh, that's it.
Like, there was that moment. I was standing there on my own. And you know when you're looking into a space and you're just like, oh man, what a fucking mess.
And there's not even a how are we repairing this. It's
No, it's
over.
Forget it, it's over. It's over. The dream's gone. Simon Pipe Dream Deane is well and truly out. But it was sad. But like, at the end of the day...
Oh, the sun still rises tomorrow.
Exactly. And we're out there. And that's all we can do.
Everyone walked away. And everyone managed to have a laugh.
That's it.
And
I kept my sign. If you look at it, it actually looks like a big plaster. Maybe that's what held the building together. But it's... Look... Friends, family, anyone who supported us, it's great, and we're alive. It's just a shit scenario. Can't really put it any other way.
Do you still love cars?
I love cars. Don't fucking
Will
ask
that
me
ever
why.
change?
No, I just love cars. Anyone who's involved in the motor trade, in that sort of higher end of things, you have to love the metal to do the job. It's not an easy job. It's pain in the balls. But get to drive some nice cars, though, sometimes.
There's something about walking in and seeing nice metal every day, and you go, do you know what? It's just a cool place to be around. Yeah. Just, if you're into cars and you go, I'm standing next to a Ferrari, and, you know, that Rover test that you had, I thought that was so cool.
And it's just, like...
And someone else doesn't get it, but you're like, that cool, your car's over there that you're into.
I love the stories, like the Volvo that burned down, not my black one, the blue one. Like, I just loved that was a one-owner car from me, one family, you know what I mean? Yeah. And the history of it, and we got that car back on the road, and the fucking thing burned to the ground. Pulled out of one hellhole and burned out at another, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Oh, God. Anyway.
We can cry about the metal for months to come.
Yeah.
But where can people find you? For the next while, anyway.
Probably in Brady's pub in Dunboyne, probably. Drowning my sorrows now. Look, if anyone wants to help us and support, literally just go on to theengineblock.com. There's our T-shirts and hoodies to try and help us. And if you don't, there's no problem. Like, for us, it is what it is.
Yeah, this isn't asking for a handout, but some people might just want to go, what can I do? And if that's the case, well, at least get something for what you can do.
Yeah.
And buy a shirt or whatever.
Exactly. It will have a burnt down symbol of the engine block on it. So you can say, do you remember that place?
That was great for that year.
That was great for that year.
I hope
links will be below. As for all the other companies that were there that have merch and stuff on sale to kind of help them all out, I know Drift Games have said it's kept their guys on payroll for a couple of weeks at least.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank God.
So yeah, we will link all of the brands that are selling merch at the moment.
I appreciate the honesty.
It's not easy. A lot of people would have just shied away and gone, I'm not publicising this.
It is. Look, I remember like RTE contacted us at the time to do an interview. Why would we do not being funny? Like, why would I do an interview with RTE? Like, we were doing this before the place burned down. Might as well tell the truth with probably the only nice Irish podcast that I actually like. So,
which is amazing because you've never listened to it before, have you?
No. Who's your man, Colin Harmon? Who's that Colin Harmon fella? Yeah, look, shit happens. No one died. Be grand.
I hope this isn't the last chapter for you guys.
No, and look, I'm sure there'll be something going on. But
Yeah, if I see you working in a deli or something, I'm going to give you a slap.
no, it might just work for someone else, probably at this stage. But sure, look, we'll give it a whirl. See how we go.
Look, really appreciate you coming in. This was a very different podcast from what we had envisaged the Simon Deane podcast being, but life is very strange sometimes and how it works.
Yep.
And we'll do a follow-up in a couple of months.
Yeah, the main thing is just really appreciate the honesty.
It's the truth.
We didn't really, there wasn't any subjects that we can't talk about this, we can't talk about that. So, and I hope everyone listening to this appreciates that too. And yeah, by all means, these are Irish companies. They want to, if people want to support, go and follow the links, do everything like that. And hopefully we will have you back on soon to talk about the future of classic cars and the market and where it might be.
Yep.
And what it's like in Marbella.
Exactly. Once again, this is the 50 to 70 podcast brought to you in association with 3FE Coffee. Get everything you need to know about your coffee or your fix or accessories or beans at 3fe.com or head into one of their 7 stores throughout Dublin. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.